it's Neha from College Shortcuts, and today I'm going to be talking about how to write a winning college scholarship essay. Now, if you don't know me, I'm the founder of College Shortcuts, where we help students find their passion, build a personality, and then pitch them to universities. So what I want to talk about here today is what is a scholarship essay? So many people have noticed the rising cost of tuition. It's unbelievable. In the last 10 years, tuition has almost doubled. And so what I want to talk about is scholarships, because there's millions and millions of dollars that are available to students and families just like you to get into that dream school and be able to pay for it and not stress out. So what I want to talk about is, what are they actually looking for in the college application process when it comes to scholarships? First, what they're looking for is a student that really needs it. So when you look at a student's profile and you get these thousands of applications and essays to that scholarship board, they want to find a student who really needs this money. The second thing they're looking for is, does the student have the merit to really get this scholarship? So do they showcase a good score on their GPA, or maybe they're a part of certain extracurriculars? So what's really important is, are you a good fit for that scholarship? Now, as someone who gives scholarships out myself, I definitely am always looking for that child that's unique or just a little gritty or a little different. And I think that's really important to note. If you're spending a lot of time with some friends that all have same types of kids, you don't want to do the same types of essays. For example, in my community, I've seen people write things all about violin, orchestra, taekwondo, speech and debate, wanting to go into medicine, computer engineering. And I'm not saying those are bad things. I'm just saying that we really want to keep track of how can we be more unique. So I want to get into a little bit about, how do you prepare an essay for scholarships, or how do you actually write it? Now, most of the students I know, with the thousands of teens I've worked with over the last 14 years, they tend to experience something called writer's block. Now, writer's block is actually very painful. And as an author of almost 3 to 4 books that I've been writing, and I have some more coming out soon, it can be really debilitating. So I want to talk about what are ways to combat that so that the creativity can flow immediately. One of the biggest things that I truly believe in is the power of an outline and brainstorming. And what I mean by that is not opening up your laptop, but actually grabbing a sheet of paper. It sounds very old school to most of my teenagers, but there's something powerful about taking that pen to paper that can make all the difference. So when you're doing that, it really creates a wave between your brain and your hand that you can just free flow that writing, right? So when you're writing out everything, it's very important to not judge yourself. Now, as a top performer, achiever, I will say things to myself like, that was a really stupid idea, or I don't really think that's great, in my head. What I urge you to do is that when you're trying to come up with an idea that's going to be unique, you got to throw the judgment out the window. And that little voice might need some help about not being an inner critic so much. I know I've been doing a lot of work around that too. So you want to take all sorts of ideas into account. And remember, creativity is key. So it's not just about being the norm or filling in something and doing it in a lackluster way. It's about thinking about, what would be a topic that would really stand out, that makes your story unique. The second part that's very important is really understanding the power of how you write things. For example, if I did this video and I said, this is how to write a winning college scholarship essay. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the 3 top tips of exactly what it takes to win scholarship money. Are you interested anymore? Probably not. That was a little dry and boring. But if I talk about it in an enthusiastic way, when it comes to the writing, if you can use that tone, it shows through the words and it pops off the paper. And that's the power of writing a really good essay, is really figuring out, what is your tone, what is your message, what is your story, and then writing it in a way that makes people really want to read it. My last tip on this scholarship essay, and really how to stand out, is you've got to grab their attention in the first line. Now look at any news media story, look at magazines, look at the covers. There are these headlines that make you pick it up off that grocery store line, right? For example, it's, there's so many different ones that are out there and you're like, ooh, that looks really interesting. The same thing goes with the essay. You don't want that first line to be something really boring. And I know the sad part is our education system teaches our students to write things with intros and thesis statements and everything's kind of dry. But in reality, we really want to make sure that we write it almost in a journalistic perspective. So those are my 3 top tips on how to write a winning college scholarship essay so that your child doesn't create that bland, boring essay, but write something that makes them kind of like a unicorn. Now, I want to also tell you something about some of the do's and don'ts that we work with students on all the time. There's nothing more incredible than having a team of essay consultants, writers, people that love doing this with kids every single day, because I'll be honest, even with my own writing, I get my stuff edited. So it's very important to realize there's nothing wrong with getting outside help. Here are some of the do's and don'ts. Now, I went over the do's. What I'm going to do is go over the don'ts. The first thing you don't want to be doing is writing something that you're not even interested in yourself. Now, I know a lot of people will do activities, or they'll think that this is what colleges want, or this is what a scholarship board wants. The truth is, what they want is really you as a person. They don't want something that you feel like you had to do or you're forced to do. Back in the day, I was forced to do this type of Indian dance called Bharatanatyam, and it was very painful. I used to drive my mother nuts, driving me there. I'd stand in the back. I didn't really care. And then I'd leave. And, she would just be, at one point, she goes, "Do you even want to be here or not?" And I said, "I don't want to be here." So none of my essays were actually about Bharatanatyam. In the end, I switched over to hip hop, and I actually performed. I won multiple awards for combining both East and West dance together. I even created paintings around the beauty of melding both of these cultures in my own life and kind of the struggle I felt growing up in Texas, where I was the minority. And so that's kind of an example of what an essay can feel like and look like. So you don't want to write about, I went to Bharatanatyam practice every day and I hated it. See, that's the don't. The do is take what maybe a struggle's been or something you've had a challenge with, but then you bring it full circle and you talk about the positive. So make sure you're not writing about something you hate or something that you're not interested in. The second thing about the don't is don't have, I guess what I'm trying to say is don't force yourself when you're writing. You've got to give yourself enough time. So a lot of my parents that are listening, I know it's really easy to try to set deadlines and force creativity. The truth is if a student's trying to balance all honors AP classes, SAT prep, tutoring, sports, activities, communities, there's a lot these kids are doing. You've got to let them have some decompression time. And as adults, we take that often. And if you aren't taking that, I highly recommend you go take that. Get a massage, maybe get your little nails done, do something for yourself. For these teens, sometimes it might be a Saturday morning where they're already up in the morning and they have a little bit of time to journal. That's one of the ways that you can absolutely make a difference in really building a winning college scholarship essay, is to really kind of journal and let it flow. So don't try to force creativity on your kid, because otherwise you're just going to get a bunch of trash. And I'll tell you, I've written books and I've scrapped 25,000 words. Most people are floored by that, but sometimes it's the first 25,000 that suck to get to the part that you truly need. So don't do that thing where you try to force yourself to write. I've had multiple author friends try to do this, and it's absolutely horrible. The third thing you don't want to do is try to go this yourself. Now, I know a lot of people try to write their essays on their own, and from what we've seen over the last 14 years and working with tens of thousands of teens, due to social media, we've seen that teenagers do not write to the level they used to. They're used to things that are 140 characters, they involve hashtags, or maybe they've got a Snapchat filter with bubbles. The problem is that they're not really learning what it takes to flush out an idea in a journalistic way that grabs the attention of a scholarship reader. And so don't try to do this always on your own. One of the big things at College Shortcuts is we absolutely love editing essays. It's actually something we thoroughly enjoy doing. We do it 7 days a week. And so if you're really looking for someone to review it and understand what it takes, since on average most of our students get tens of thousands of dollars in scholarships when they work with us, if you're looking for that last polished check, or maybe you want someone to brainstorm with your child and let them know don't write about that, write about this. Those are some really important ways to really stand out when you're trying to write a winning college scholarship essay. Now, I hope these tips have been very helpful for you and you've enjoyed this video. If you are interested in learning more about what we can do for you, we've got great scholarship guides on our website. We can help you with this process because there's nothing more that I enjoy. Being brown myself, I love a great deal, So when I went to college, I remember when I was applying, I had gotten things upwards of like $40,000 in scholarships, per year at some of these universities where they really wanted me there. And so I think it's a lot to balance and have conversations around, what is a college you can afford for your child? And then what are colleges that maybe if you got some scholarships, whether it's inside or outside the college, how do you write those winning scholarship essays? And I will tell you, this is extra work outside of normal school hours, normal homework, and everything else. I've met multiple families that have gotten 6 figures in scholarships by just dedicating a few hours every single week towards this project. Now, let me tell you something. If I had a few hours and I know I could get a 6-figure scholarship or multiple scholarships that added up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, you bet I would have spent a few hours on it, and I definitely did. So I hope these tips have been really helpful. If you've got any questions, you know where to find me at collegeshortcuts.com. Make sure to like this video, comment below. I'd love to know your questions. I check every single comment that comes through. If you've got any questions, you can always reach out and message us as well. So thanks so much, and I hope you learned so much about how to write a winning scholarship essay.